Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. This time, we're tackling how to strengthen those marriage bonds. And get this, we're going to be looking at it from a Christian perspective.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're taking a cue from this Christian podcast I found called The Sunshine Inside. And, they really lean into the idea of using faith as that, foundation for better communication.
It's funny you should mention that. When couples come to me, they're often surprised that I don't immediately jump into communication techniques and strategies.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I always tell them it's not just about saying the right words, it's about creating the right atmosphere.
That's interesting.
It really is.
So this podcast, The Sunshine Inside, where do they start with all this?
Well, they kick things off with this really powerful idea from Mark 10.8.
Okay.
Where it talks about two people becoming one in marriage.
Right, right.
But the thing is, how do we actually live that out? It can't just be some nice verse we quote.
Yeah. You can't just slap it on a mug or something.
Right.
There has to be something deeper to it.
It really does. And that's where the sunshine inside gets really interesting.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
They basically suggest that we need to kind of flip the script on how we usually think about good communication.
Flip the script, huh? What do you mean by that?
Well, most people think good communication is about being articulate, making your point clearly, all that.
Right.
But the sunshine inside argues that listening is even more crucial.
Oh, interesting.
And I don't just mean waiting for your turn to speak,
Yeah.
It's about really trying to grasp your partner's perspective. They call it active listening.
Okay, yeah.
It sounds simple, but it can really be a game changer.
Active listening. Have you seen that work in your experience? Does it really work?
Oh, I've seen it work wonders. And not just in marriages.
Yeah.
Yeah, in all kinds of relationships. I mean, think about it. When someone feels truly heard, they're way more likely to open up, let their guard down, and that's when the real connection happens.
That makes a lot of sense.
The sunshine inside even gives some really practical tips for how to do this.
Okay, like what?
Well, for starters, they say ditch the interruptions.
Oh, good one.
Yeah, right. Also, make eye contact and let your spouse fully express themselves without jumping in.
Those are good points, especially the no interruptions thing.
Right.
I think we're all guilty of that sometimes.
Oh, for sure. I know I am. But the sunshine inside takes it a step further.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, they bring in Ecclesiastes 4.9:10, which talks about how two people are stronger together because they can lift each other up.
Right.
And, that really made me realize that active listening isn't just a technique. It's an act of love and support.
That's a good point, yeah.
It really is.
It's like you're saying, hey, I'm here for you. I want to hear what you have to say.
Exactly. It's about creating that safe space where your partner feels comfortable sharing their thoughts and feelings.
Without judgment.
Exactly. And, who wouldn't want to feel that kind of support from their partner?
Absolutely. But let's be honest. It's not always easy to do that.
It's not.
Especially, when disagreements pop up.
Right.
The sunshine inside even acknowledges that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
They emphasize the importance of being patient and compassionate.
Especially in those heated moments, right?
It's easy to get caught up in the heat of the moment and say things we regret later.
It really is.
But they remind us that even when we mess up, we can always turn back to God for guidance.
Yeah. Remember that verse from Colossians?
Colossians, refresh my memory.
Yeah, Colossians 3.12.
Okay.
It's a recipe for healthy communication.
Oh, tell me more about that.
It says, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is, right. And, those qualities, they're really the foundation of a strong, loving relationship.
No doubt about it.
And, they even go as far as suggesting that you hit pause during a conflict. Take a moment to pray and just seek guidance from the Holy Spirit.
I love that, just inviting God into the conversation like that.
Yeah, sometimes you need that.
Sometimes you do.
Yeah.
Especially when emotions are running high.
It really is about recognizing that we don't have all the answers.
Right.
And sometimes we need a little help from above to communicate effectively.
So true, so true.
And that brings us to another crucial point from the sunshine inside.
Okay, what's that?
The power of words. They reference Proverbs 18.21, which says, death and life are in the power of the tongue.
Oh, wow. That's powerful.
It really is. It's a stark reminder that what we say has a huge impact on our relationships.
Oh, I know that feeling. I've definitely experienced that firsthand. Sometimes just one carelessly chosen word and bam!
Oh, yeah.
Everything escalates so quickly.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Uh,
But the sunshine inside, they offer some really good advice for taming the tongue, I gotta say.
oh, I'm curious. What do they suggest?
Well, first of all, they say take a few deep breaths.
Okay, good start.
Right, to calm those nerves.
Yeah.
And then make sure that your response, like whatever you say next, is coming from a place of love.
Well, that's huge.
It is.
Not from anger or resentment.
Exactly. And third, remember that you and your spouse, you're on the same team.
Really?
You're working towards the same goal, a happy, healthy marriage.
That's a really good point. It's easy to forget that sometimes.
It is, especially in the heat of the moment.
Right. It's like you get so focused on proving your point
You get tunnel vision.
that you forget that you're supposed to be working together.
It's so easy to fall into that trap.
It is. But yeah, the sunshine inside really emphasizes that unity, that oneness that we were talking about earlier.
Absolutely.
They highlight how transparency and honesty are just so crucial for building trust and connection.
It makes sense, right? When you hold back or bottle things up,
Yeah.
it creates distance.
Resentment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But being open about your feelings, your needs, your dreams, all of that, it fosters a much deeper level of intimacy.
It's like you're inviting your spouse into your inner world.
Exactly. And, you know, the sunshine inside connects this to Ephesians 4.25,
Okay.
where it talks about speaking the truth in love.
Right. Right.
So it's not just about honesty, it's about how we deliver that honesty.
Yeah. Yeah. It's about finding that balance between being truthful, but also being kind.
Exactly. And, you know, to do that, the sunshine inside suggests scheduling a weekly heart-to-heart check-in with your spouse.
I like that. A designated time to just connect and talk about what's going on.
It's about creating a safe and open environment for vulnerability.
That's brilliant. But even with the best intentions, disagreements are bound to happen.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So how does the sunshine inside advise navigating those choppy waters?
Well, they offer a lot of wisdom on handling conflict constructively, and we're going to dive into all of that right after a quick break.
Okay, sounds good.
So stay tuned. We'll be right back. So, you know, it's interesting. The sunshine inside. They really caution us about the impact our words can have.
Oh, you.
Even when we're trying to be honest, you know?
Right.
They emphasize that speaking wisely can help to avoid unnecessary conflict.
That's a good point.
It is.
And, you know, it's like that old saying, you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Exactly. But how do we actually apply that to marriage, especially when things get heated?
Yeah, that's the tough part.
It is. It is. But they actually bring up this great verse from Proverbs,
Okay.
Proverbs 12.18, which
Okay.
says, "The tongue of the wise brings healing." And it's such a good reminder that, you know, the goal isn't to win an argument.
Right.
It's to understand each other and find a resolution that works for both of you.
That's a really helpful perspective shift.
It is. It's not about being right.
Yeah,
It's about strengthening the relationship.
I like that.
And to do that, you know, the sunshine inside encourages us to approach disagreements with grace and humility. It's about choosing your words carefully and avoiding those hurtful jabs that can, you know,
Yeah.
do lasting damage.
Sometimes those are the hardest ones to come back from.
They are. They really stick with you.
Yeah. So what do they say? What do they suggest we do when we find ourselves in those situations?
Well, they actually offer this really simple but powerful question to ask yourself
Okay.
before you respond in anger. Would I want my spouse to talk to me this way?
Whoa, that's a good one.
Right.
It's like that golden rule applied to communication.
It really is. It forces you to step outside of your own emotions for a second and consider the impact your words might have on your partner.
Take a step back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And of course, they also emphasize speaking with love and kindness,
Yeah.
allowing God to guide your words, you know?
Yeah.
And they actually suggest taking a moment to pause and pray before you react in anger
Okay.
and just ask God for guidance and a calm heart.
That's a good reminder that we don't have to navigate these challenges alone.
Right. We have help.
Our faith can be a source of strength and support.
And it's so true, especially during those really difficult conversations.
Yeah, absolutely.
They even share a specific prayer for strengthening communication in marriage.
Really?
I'd love to hear that. It's incredibly heartfelt.
Yeah.
They ask God for wisdom and grace in their communication. They thank him for the gift of marriage and the opportunity to grow together.
Right.
And they ask for help in communicating with love, patience, and understanding.
Wow, that's so powerful.
It is. It really is. It's like acknowledging that we need help. We can't do this on our own.
Exactly. Because sometimes it's not easy.
And they also ask that their words be filled with kindness and respect.
Right.
to reflect God's love in all their interactions and just to bring peace into their home.
That's beautiful.
It really is. It's just a beautiful reminder that prayer can play such a significant role in our relationships.
No doubt about it. It's like inviting God into that space between you
It
to help
is.
bridge that gap and, facilitate that communication.
It's really beautiful.
And, the Sunshine Inside really drives home the point that communication in marriage is a journey.
It's not a destination.
Exactly.
It's something you're constantly working on.
Exactly. It takes effort and intentionality and a willingness to learn and grow together.
To keep showing up.
Exactly.
And they end the episode with a call to action, right? They urge listeners to prioritize their marriage and to keep looking for ways to strengthen their communication. That's great. I love that they encourage people to keep the conversation going.
I know, me too. They don't want these insights to just fade away after the episode is over.
Yeah.
They want people to actually take these principles and apply them to their lives.
That's so important.
It really is.
Because it's one thing to listen to a podcast and be like, oh, that's good advice.
Right.
But it's another thing to actually put it into practice.
To put in the work.
Yeah, to do the work.
Exactly.
It's inspiring to see how the Sunshine Inside really weaves their faith into their approach to communication. It really adds another layer of depth and meaning to the whole conversation.
Totally. So what stands out to you as the most impactful takeaway from the Sunshine Inside?
For me, it was the emphasis on approaching communication as a way to build each other up rather than tear each other down.
Yeah.
It's about fostering understanding and connection.
Not winning arguments.
Exactly. And, I just love how they weave in scripture and prayer to guide listeners on that journey.
It's a powerful reminder that our faith can be such a source of strength.
It can.
And guidance in all aspects of our lives, especially our relationships.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what really stuck with me was that idea of scheduling a weekly heart-to-heart check-in.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
It's such a simple concept, but it's so profound.
It really is. It's like you're creating this space for intentional connection.
Yeah. You're making time for each other.
Exactly.
But, I'm thinking, in the busyness of life,
Yeah, I know.
how do couples actually make that happen?
That is the question, isn't it? It makes me think about all the other challenges that couples face when it comes to communication.
Right.
What about those situations where, one partner is more talkative
Yeah.
and the other's more reserved?
Right.
How can they find that balance?
Yeah. Using these principles.
That's such a good point because, communication styles can be so different
They really can.
from person to person.
Yeah. Not everyone expresses themselves in the same way.
And the Sunshine Inside actually dives into those nuances.
Oh, do they?
Oh, yeah. They offer some great insights on bridging those gaps and finding a rhythm that works for both partners.
Okay, well, let's talk about that.
Let's dive into some of those communication challenges couples often face.
Right, because like we were saying, no two people communicate exactly the same way.
Exactly. The Sunshine Inside recognizes this, and they talk about how those differences can sometimes lead to misunderstandings and frustration.
Right, yeah. Like we were talking about before the break, what happens when one spouse is, super talkative?
Yeah.
The other one is more like reserved and introverted.
Right.
How do they apply all these principles we've been discussing in that kind of scenario?
Well, the Sunshine Inside suggests it's all about finding that communication style that honors both personalities.
Okay.
So for the talkative spouse, it might mean practicing a little restraint, making sure they're not dominating the conversation.
Yeah.
And for the quieter partner, it could mean making an effort to express their thoughts and feelings, even if it feels a little uncomfortable at first.
Right, because if you don't say anything,
Exactly.
then nothing's going to change.
Exactly. It's like learning each other's love languages, but for communication.
I like that, yeah.
Right. Figuring out what makes your partner feel heard and understood and then speaking that language.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that takes patience, right?
It does.
A willingness to sort of adapt and grow together.
The Sunshine Inside really emphasizes that.
But even with the best intentions, it's
Yeah.
easy to fall back into old patterns.
So true, especially when life gets busy and stressful.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So what do they say? Any tips for staying on track?
Well, they actually suggest establishing some ground rules for
Interesting.
communication.
Okay.
Like simple things, like agreeing not to interrupt each other.
Yeah.
Or setting aside a specific time each week for those heart-to-heart check-ins we talked about.
Right. It's like creating a framework
It
for
is.
having these really important conversations.
Exactly. It's like you're creating this safe space where you can be open and honest with each other.
What really struck me about the Sunshine Inside
Yeah.
is that it's not just about, like, techniques and strategies. It's
Right.
about the heart behind it all.
Absolutely. It's about communicating with love, respect, and understanding.
Exactly.
And that's where faith plays such a huge role.
It's like they're saying that the goal isn't just to be heard, but to really connect with your partner on a deeper level.
Right. To build each other up and strengthen that bond,
Right.
that oneness.
That's a great way to put it. And that connection, it's ultimately rooted in our relationship with God,
It is.
isn't it?
It is. When we let His love and grace guide our words and actions, it changes everything.
Yeah, it really does. It's a good reminder that even in those, like, messy moments of communication,
Yeah,
God is still there,
He is.
offering us guidance and support.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Sunshine Inside,
Yeah.
what's one practical takeaway that our listeners can, apply in their own marriages this week?
Hmm. I think the simplest but most powerful step is to choose one communication skill you want to work on.
Good one,
Whether
sir.
it's active listening, pausing before reacting, or just speaking with more kindness,
Right.
and then make a conscious effort to practice that skill every day with your spouse.
Start small.
Exactly.
Be consistent.
Exactly. And you'll be amazed at how those small changes
Yeah.
can have such a big impact.
Absolutely. It's a ripple effect.
It is.
And it can transform your marriage.
And remember, it's a journey. There will be bumps in the road, but as long as you're striving to communicate with love and intentionality, you're heading in the right direction.
That's such a great point. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into communication in marriage from a Christian perspective.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you found it insightful and encouraging.
And remember, strong communication is the foundation of any healthy relationship. With a little effort and guidance, you can strengthen the bond with your spouse and experience the joy of a truly connected marriage.
Beautifully said. Until next time, happy communicating.